With a record voter turnout nationwide this midterm election, voters in Washington County were no different.
The turnout was 78.6%, over 61,000 ballots counted out of just over 78,000 registered voters. And it was kind of overwhelming, really, with how many we had.
This is up from a typical non-presidential year, which is usually around 45%. Despite a new mail-in ballot system, higher voter turnout was evident in Washington County with long lines.
Not very long, maybe 15 minutes.
With such a large voter turnout, ballot boxes were accessed several times a day by both voters and poll workers.
We had to go out and collect ballots from the drop boxes 2 or 3 times a day because there were so many people dropping ballots off.
However, once the polls closed, the vote counts were relatively clear for Washington County voters. The majority of voters soundly said no to a gas tax supporting education, both here and statewide. However, on the medical marijuana issue, or Prop 2, and the Medicaid expansion, Prop 3, voters in Washington County and other conservative districts voted against them. Nonetheless, both propositions still passed.
Proposition 2 failed by about 6,000 votes in Washington County. The Medicaid failed by about almost, not exactly the same number, but about 6,000 votes as well.
And it's obvious there's a stark contrast in Washington County versus Salt Lake County when it comes to conservatism.
Because they are the biggest, and they're a little more Democrat Party than the rest of the state is. And so the things the items that were close, oftentimes those are determined by Salt Lake County.
The Washington County School District bond election also passed.
And so it passed by about 1,700, 1,800 votes.
Hafen said while the election went smooth for the most part, there were some votes that couldn't be counted, either because they weren't postmarked on time or for lack of signatures for verification.
We have a few ballots that are dropped off in the drop boxes without an envelope, and we can't count those. Yeah, we didn't have a lot of those, but we had a few, and we can't count those because we don't have a signature with them. All we have is just the ballot, not in an envelope.
Hafen said even though the canvass is over, ballots must be kept locked up for 22 months after each election by law. This is one election that will no doubt go down in history for both voter turnout and interest. In Washington County, Melissa Anderson, Community Education News.